Hi, I'm Mike Eisenberg, and I really appreciate ABC-CLIO providing me with this opportunity to talk about my passion, which is information literacy. When I was asked to do this, I decided to solicit some questions from students here at the university and from some colleagues around the country, and that's the way I'm structuring this. So I have a series of questions, and I'm going to kind of go through it as if we were on some type of a talk show or whatever. So I've organized the questions in kind of a logical order, and let's jump right in. So the first question says, Mike, isn't information literacy passé? I mean, I see references to 21st century literacies, 21st century skills, and media literacy, and digital literacy, and critical thinking. Aren't these new literacies really more important, and information literacy is just one of them? I love this question. It's a perfect first question because the answer is a resounding no. The unifying literacy is information literacy. These others are kind of laundry lists and things. What is media literacy? If it's not a list and a series of things like understanding the bias in media and those things, but it doesn't represent a process that we want people, particularly young people, to be able to use over and over and over. And that's what information literacy really is. It is a process. It is and there are specific identifiable skills. So media literacy, technology literacy, digital literacy, those skills fit within the information literacy process. Also, if you think about information literacy skills for the 21st century, it's really an expansion of our traditional literacies of reading and writing. But in the 21st century, in a global world, that's not enough. It's not enough to just know how to read. You need to be able to process information in all of its forms, whether it's video or audio or print, and be able to process it. And then, not just to write as a production, as a way to present and respond, but to present in all different kind of forms. Again, whether it's video or film or audio, or it could be virtual reality. So that's my answer to that one. The second question is kind of related to the first. It says, getting to the heart of the matter, a teacher asked, what exactly is information literacy, Mike? And don't give me one of those stock general quotes or jargons. What specifically is information literacy? Can you give me the answer that an average person can easily understand? So yes, the easiest answer is information literacy is the big six. The big six skills of task definition, information seeking strategies, location and access, use of information, synthesis, and evaluation. It's the information problem solving process. And information literacy is when students get a problem or a task, and it could be where they have to do their homework assignment, or it could be they have a science lab, or it could be a report or paper on the migration habits of humpback whales, that they define the task, stage one, task definition, and then they move to information seeking strategies, figuring out the strategies and the resources that they would best use to solve that task. And then location and access, they go out and search and find it, and that's the kind of the Google skill. And then there is use of information, really important, that engaging and comprehending information. Then they take what they found and they organize it and present it, that's synthesis. And then evaluation is evaluating the product, their end result, and evaluating the process. So very specifically, that's information literacy. And that's why the big six is a useful, very useful way to represent and to explain information literacy. Now, for very, very young kids, and I think you can see it in the back of my office here, there's something called the Super 3, which takes the process and kind of simplifies it down a little for preschool, pre-K, K, even the first grade. And that's where we have plan, do, and review. In the beginning, they plan. In the middle, they do. And in the end, they review. So that's information literacy as well. On to question number 3. Someone raised a question about the Wikipedia, right? And the question is, how do we stop kids from using the Wikipedia? And isn't that part of information literacy? Well, my answer is we don't stop kids from using the Wikipedia. The Wikipedia is a fine source for some things in some situations. In fact, I'm part of a major national study called Project Information Literacy with a colleague of mine, Allison Head, and we've studied college students and their use of information and their behavior in all different kinds of situations, from Harvard University to Shoreline Community College. And what we found is that an overwhelming number of them, 60–70%, use the Wikipedia on a regular basis. But they use it in the way that you or I would use it. They know that they can't believe everything in Wikipedia, and they know, while they say it's their source of perhaps first check, it's not their last. And that's what's really important about Wikipedia. And the reason that it's so relevant to information literacy is it's not absolute yes or no. Yes, you use this source. No, you don't. It's what's the proper source? What is the appropriate source in a given context and situation? And again, for my classes, I use Wikipedia for background information. I did a thing on values in information systems the other day, and there was a great article in the Wikipedia on values. Now, certainly, I went beyond that. But the answer is Wikipedia, an appropriate use of Wikipedia, is in fact a very important part of information literacy. Moving on to the next question. The question is back to information literacy itself. Why the Big Six? And why is it better than any other model or approach to information literacy? Well, I'm biased. I mean, I developed the Big Six along with Bob Berkowitz almost 25 years ago. But that's not just the reason that we promote and advocate for the Big Six. We believe that it's very important for people to have a common vocabulary in schools, a common way for thinking about information literacy and the skills that they need. So when we talk about the Big Six and the Big Six skills, and we do it from grade to grade and from school to school and even from district to district, we come up with this common vocabulary for describing it. Also, the Big Six has been used now for over 20 years. It's in thousands of schools and districts and across the globe. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of resources related to the Big Six. Many are free. Many are available on our website, www.big6.com. Many are available through ABC-CLIO and Linworth Publishing. Some are for sale. There are some good resources and books and materials. But there's this whole body of knowledge about using the Big Six on a practical level to implement information literacy in classrooms, in libraries, in educational situations, anywhere, at any time. Okay. Another question that came up, which I've kind of answered a little, asked, but does the Big Six really work for little kids? Isn't it really too complicated? And I did explain that the Big Six for little kids is what we usually call the Super 3. And again, we try to get young kids just thinking process. Let them realize that, I like to say, that you're the main character in a story. And just like the main character, there's a beginning and a middle and an end. And in the beginning, you plan. You figure out what you're supposed to do, and you figure out the sources and things you're going to use. In the middle, you do it. And in the end, you look back and review. And we see that in lots of stories and literature, and that's a great way to teach the Super 3 to really young kids. And then we segue, usually around first grade, second grade, from the Super 3 to the Big Six. So in the beginning, in the plan, we have task definition, and we have information seeking strategies. In the do, we have search, location, and access. We have use of information and synthesis. And in the end, in the review stage, we have evaluation. So it really flows really nicely across those. We're kind of starting to run out of time, so I think we have time for one last question, one that I get the most. and especially from teacher librarians, from school librarians in the audience, and that is, how do I implement the Big Six? How do I implement information literacy when we're all so busy? And how do I get classroom teachers to buy in when they're so busy? And this is a big question, and I can give you a very elaborate, detailed, systematic approach to how to implement Big Six and how to implement information literacy. And I've written lots of books on this and whatever. I'm going to put that aside for a minute and just say, tomorrow morning or this afternoon or whenever you next see kids, you can start to implement an information literacy program, a Big Six program. One, start using the terminology. If you're working with kids on search tools, if you're using one of the ABC-CLIO databases and their search systems, refer to that as location and access, Big Six number 3. Or when you're working with kids on deciding what resources they might use, what you might do is, again, say, we're now engaged in information seeking strategy. You start using the terminology and labeling what you're doing already in a Big Six context, right? The second thing is when you're working with classroom teachers, do the same thing. That is, when you're providing resources or you're seeking to support them in their curriculum, you should use the Big Six terminology and let them know you're doing it and why. Explain that, I have a curriculum, it's called information literacy, and it's defined by this Big Six. And what's really powerful, classroom teacher, is for you to have an assignment, to have units and content areas, and I bring this process in so that our kids together are more effective on your agenda. In other words, the Big Six is not an add-on. It's not something else that they need to do. It integrates with existing assignments. Then, when you have time and you can look at some of our resources and things, you'll see that we have ways of systematically analyzing school curriculum, identifying what we call big juicy units that are just brimming with information potential, and then work on having the students learn these skills in conjunction with learning the content area. So we don't overwhelm them. We don't have to do some major elaborate project or report or written assignment. So that's a brief overview of information literacy and the Big Six. Again, I thank ABC-CLIO for the opportunity to speak with you. And this is Mike Eisenberg signing off, saying, think big, 6.